Okay, here's an attempt to show you how to get ClojureScript running an idea on Windows really fast. So if we look at our, I have a module with a module library in here with a bunch of jar files. I don't think I need JS, but I might. And where do they come from and how do we use them? CLJ and CLJS come from the ClojureScript project. And you get that with, I got it with git.bash, or git.bash, not .bash, blah. And then I had to take some of the files. So if you look in source, you can see there's a CLJ and a CLJS directory. CLJ has CLJS, which is confusing, I know. CLJS has CLJS and Clojure, which is even more confusing. So we want to take this CLJ, CLJS and jar up that directory, and take this CLJS and take these two directories and put them in a jar. I think you can put them in the same jar, but we'll just put them in separate jars because it's easier. So you can see in here we do jar. So we're in the place where we want the jar to be created, our project lib directory. We say jar up, create clj.jar, CLJ, and then we say, while you're making this jar, flip to the directory where we have the ClojureScript source, CLJ directory, and then jar up this CLJS directory. So there, we have clj.jar has this CLJ/CLJS directory. Then we do another one. This time we want two directories, and the -c doesn't work quite well with two directories. So we say we go to where the directories are, ClojureScript source CLJS this time, and we say make a jar called the lib directory where we want it cljs.jar as opposed to clj.jar, and we say put in the cljs CLJS directory and the CLJS Clojure directory into that jar. Take those, throw them in our project CLJ CLJS. This you can get from the Clojure website, download. This comes from the Google JavaScript compiler. So if we go into the ClojureScript script bootstrap shell script for Unix or Linux, we can see that they go to this URL, and you can pause and grab that, compiler latest. Then they unzip it and they grab Clojure blah 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 compiler jar. So just grab compiler jar wherever it is and throw it in your project. Goog jar is some of the libraries from their library file, which they get that from Subversion. I just went to the Clojure Google Clojure project and downloaded it, and then they show you in the ClojureScript bootstrap shell script what you need to grab from there, which is the Goog directory. It used to be, I think, in Clojure library Clojure. Now I think it's in Clojure Goog. So jar, goog.jar, the Clojure directory. Inside that, you want the Goog directory. So that goog.jar will just contain the Goog directory. Throw that in there. This comes from Rhino. Not sure if you need it or not, but I didn't want to mess with it. So they got it from here. You can pause and grab that. And inside there is a js.jar, which is confusing, but throw that in the project as well. Then we have in our source directory, I made a Zombunity package. I have a build ClojureScript, which relies on cljs.clojure. This is a script, and it has a build function in it. So we call, this is the alias cljsc, ClojureScript compiler, cljsc/build. I'm telling it the directory of my ClojureScript that I want built into JavaScript, where I want the JavaScript to be built, and what file I want my ClojureScript to be put in as a JavaScript file. When we run that, we get all the necessary ClojureScript as JavaScript stuff in here, all the Google Clojure libraries, blah, 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 and then my files. And here is the file that sets up all the dependencies for what my JavaScript now needs. My ClojureScript's been compiled into JavaScript, and here's what it needs. And this Google does all this dependencies. And so once I have that set up, then I can load up an HTML file. Now I don't have one for this project. I haven't got there yet. But I do have one for this drawgraph project. And we'll see that you have to load up base first, because base is what allows Google to do its dependencies. And if you have each individual script tag, when the browser gets to the script tag, it'll completely load this JavaScript and run it. And then so all the dependency stuff will be loaded. And then we do another script tag to do drawgraph. That's the dependencies that I have for my JavaScript to work. And then we have a separate one now that all the dependencies are resolved with Google's Clojure library. Then we can say, now I want to use my drawgraph.core namespace that we had. And now you can see in here, I'm actually using that with render. That should be it. Hope that helps.